The Outlaw Who Never Died. They say every old town has a story nobody likes to tell, but out in the country, where the roads disappear into the trees and the nearest neighbor's miles away, some stories aren't told because people are afraid they'll come true again. In the winter of 1887, a man named Elias Crow rode into a little settlement called Blackwater Creek. Nobody knew where he came from. He wore a black coat that looked older than the man wearing it, a battered hat pulled low over his eyes, and a silver star-shaped bullet hole carved into the leather of his gun belt. The strangest thing, he carried no money, no food, and according to the sheriff, his horse had been dead for 3 days. Yet Elias had somehow ridden into town that morning. He walked into the local saloon and sat down at the bar. The bartender asked him what he wanted. Elias stared at him for several seconds. Then he quietly said, "A room upstairs, and don't let anybody knock on my door tonight." The bartender laughed. Elias didn't. That night, just after midnight, the sheriff heard screaming from the saloon. He ran upstairs with his pistol drawn. Elias Crow was standing in the hallway, completely still, covered in blood. The sheriff looked past him. There were 3 men lying dead inside the room. 3 men who had been drinking downstairs earlier that evening. But here's what terrified the sheriff. Their throats had been cut, and every single one of them had the same expression frozen across their faces. Pure terror. The sheriff pointed his revolver at Elias. "Did you do this?" Elias slowly looked toward the dead men. Then he whispered, "No." The sheriff demanded to know who did. Elias looked toward the dark window at the end of the hallway and said, "They did." The sheriff stepped toward the window. There was nobody outside, only darkness. Then Elias grabbed his arm, hard, and whispered something the sheriff would remember until the day he died. "Don't look into the woods." Of course, the sheriff did. Between the trees stood a figure, a man, tall, wearing a long black coat, and staring directly at the saloon. The sheriff blinked. The figure was gone. When he turned around, Elias Crow was gone too. So were the 3 bodies. The next morning, the sheriff searched the entire town. Nothing. No bodies. No blood. No footprints. Not even Elias's horse. Most people assumed the sheriff had imagined the whole thing. Until 3 weeks later, another town reported a stranger matching Elias Crow's description. Then another. And another. Everywhere he went, people disappeared. Always 3 at a time. And always after someone claimed they had seen a tall man standing in the woods. Years passed. The stories became legends. Children were warned never to wander into the forest after dark. Parents would tell them, "If you see a man wearing black, don't let him see you." But in 1902, an old trapper named Samuel Bell claimed he finally discovered the truth. He had been deep in the mountains when he found an abandoned cabin. Inside was an old wooden table, a lantern, and a wall covered in photographs, dozens of them. Every photograph showed Elias Crow, standing in different towns, wearing the same black coat, the same hat, the same expression, but the photographs had been taken decades apart. The same man, never aging, never changing. At the bottom of the wall was one final photograph. It showed Elias standing beside a grave. Samuel recognized the grave immediately, because the name carved into the stone was Elias Crow. The date of death was 1863, 34 years before anyone claimed to have seen him. Samuel ran from the cabin. He never returned. But before he died, he told his grandson one final thing. He said the photographs weren't the worst part. The worst part was the last picture. Because when Samuel looked closely at it, he realized there was another person standing behind Elias. A tall man in a black coat, and that man was staring directly into the camera, directly at Samuel. 3 days after Samuel told his grandson the story, he disappeared. His cabin was found unlocked, his boots were sitting beside the door, his rifle was still leaning against the wall, and on the kitchen table was a single piece of paper. Only 4 words were written on it. "I looked into the woods." Nobody ever found Samuel, but people in that country still tell the story. They say that sometimes, late at night, you can hear a horse walking slowly along the old dirt roads, one hoofbeat at a time. Clop, clop, clop. And if you look through the window, you might see a man wearing a black coat. standing perfectly still beneath the trees. Don't call out to him, don't follow him, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. Because according to the old-timers, Elias Crow isn't the thing you should be afraid of. He's the thing that's trying to warn you. And if he's standing in the woods, something else is standing behind you.